You wake in complete darkness because something tiny presses against your chest. Not because a baby monitor buzzes. Not because an alarm tells you it's feeding time. Because if your baby sleeps even an arm's length away from you tonight, there's a real chance they won't wake up tomorrow morning. For almost every single day of the last 300,000 years. This was simply what being a parent meant. Forget everything you know about raising children. Forget nurseries painted in soft colors. Forget cribs, strollers, bottles, diapers, vaccinations, pediatricians, and parenting books that promise the perfect sleep schedule. None of those exist. There isn't even a permanent home waiting for you after the baby is born. And yet, despite living in a world filled with predators, disease, freezing nights, starvation, and constant uncertainty, your ancestors managed to raise enough children to populate every continent on Earth, not by accident, but because human parenting evolved into one of the most remarkable survival systems nature has ever produced. The strange part, many of the instincts that calm babies today were shaped long before civilization ever existed. Every time a newborn relaxes against a parent's heartbeat, every time a baby reaches for a familiar face, every time a child cries the moment they're left alone, you're watching behaviors that may be over 100,000 years old. So let's step backward, forward, not into ancient Egypt, not into the Roman Empire, not even into the Ice Age at its coldest. Instead, imagine standing somewhere in Eastern Africa, roughly 100. The sun has barely appeared over the horizon. There are no roads, no farms, no villages, no written language. Only open grasslands, scattered forests, rocky shelters, and a small band of perhaps 30 people who have known each other their entire lives. Among them, East Joe. And today, you're carrying the youngest member of the group. The first thing that surprises most people is just how helpless that baby would be compared with almost every other primate. Human infants are astonishingly unfinished when they're born. A newborn antelope can stand within minutes. Young chimpanzees cling to their mothers with surprising strength. Human babies can't even support the weight of their own heads. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy argues that this apparent weakness is actually one of humanity's greatest evolutionary compromises. As human brains grew larger, mothers faced a biological problem. A baby's skull could not continue growing inside the womb forever because eventually it would become too large to safely pass through the mother's pelvis. Evolution solved that problem by doing something unusual. It simply sent babies into the world earlier, long before brain development was complete. In other words, human babies are, in many ways, still developing outside the womb. Their brains will almost triple in size during the first years of life, which means your child isn't just dependent. Your child is still under construction. That changes everything. It means warmth cannot be optional. Food cannot wait. Protection cannot stop. Your baby isn't designed to spend hours lying alone.
Your baby is expecting another human body almost every second of every day. Mà đơn học si vì tên cứ si kinh đến to đến si kinh cảnh tắc immediately after but because she is have regulate temperature. Harshest, breastfeeding, cytogenesis hormone, and emotional attachment. UNCCTC never studied physiology. They never measured cortisol. They never primarily see scientific papercy. They simply cast the baby see because generation of its vision taught them something sun would only confirm 10,000 of years later. It worked. Almost every waking moment. You chăm see against someone AC body. Sometimes you chase. Sometimes another person AC shoulder. Sometimes an older sister. Sometimes anh girl mother. Sometimes even another chassis edong within the girl giúp because she one of the biggest misconceptions about prehistoric presenting is the idea that matter children almost entirely alone. The evidence suggests something very different. How did she cause up human better prejudice? The fallacious technique. The meaning is surprisingly simple. Human being even expecting baby see to have men caregivers. Imagine you go giúp presenting to live up. One đừng gạt ta si tu. Someone cả gì si phangút, hunter si đi si cả si chắc đi si cả vất bi phô săn ra si. Gata si ogana si o vân cần tên si phở rút ân bề gì si. Someone lead your baby in the te am uy thought I seeking permission. Not because si te dè bình plat. Because si that si simply what bị bần do. Yêu chăm bi long tỏ thể in tam community. Gờ dân bề dân heo. Tine gờ si heo. On the chin đo dân heo. E đất uy thought chin đo dân heo. SGP up available han become an atole up protection. TC may happen on up humanity si gazeta si evolution e at fantasy. No single exosi tất bề dần hát tỏ sám FG per giả bờ lâm alone.
Instead, knowledge, responsibility, and survival. Modern hunter-gatherer foods cannot perfectly recreate. Cultures change, environments change, history changes. But researchers studying groups such as the Ruhanzi continue discovering patterns that may reflect incredibly ancient human behavior. Anthropologist Richard Lee spent years documenting daily life among the Ruhanzi. One observation challenged almost every popular stereotype about prehistoric survival. Most people imagine hunting as the center of everything. Heroic hunters. Constandanger. But much of the group's everyday nutrition actually came from gathering edible plants, roots, nuts, seeds, berries, food collected largely by women. That discovery completely changes how you picture raising a baby because gathering allows infants to stay close. A mother carrying a child can still collect food. She doesn't need to sprint after antelope across open plains. Instead, the rhythm of daily life naturally accommodates child care. While one person gathers food, another entertains restless toddlers. While hunters disappear into the distance, grandparents tell stories beneath the shade of nearby trees. While someone repairs stone tools, an older sibling quietly rocks a sleepy infant wrapped in softened animal hide. It doesn't look like a daycare, but in many ways, it is the oldest daycare system humanity has ever created, and it worked well enough to carry our species through thousands upon thousands of generations. You wake in the middle of the night because something tiny moves against your chest, not because an alarm rings, not because a baby monitor lights up, because your child's life depends on staying close enough to hear your heartbeat for nearly 100,000 years. This was not unusual. It was simply what being human looked like. If you became a parent during the Middle Stone Age, there would be no hospital waiting for you. No stroller, no diapers, no bottles, no heated nursery, no parenting books telling you whether your baby should sleep through the night. And yet, somehow, your family would accomplish something extraordinary. You would raise a child capable of surviving one of the harshest worlds humans have ever known. The first lesson arrives immediately after birth. Your baby cannot survive alone, not for an hour, perhaps not even for a few minutes. Human infants are unusually helpless compared with almost every other primate. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hurdy argues that this vulnerability is one of the defining features of our species. Babies are born before their brains are fully developed because a larger brain simply could not pass safely through the mother's pelvis. The result is a child that still has more than a year of rapid brain growth ahead. That means your newborn is, in many ways, still unfinished. Every touch matters. Every voice matters. Every heartbeat matters. Instead of lying in a crib, your baby spends nearly every waking and sleeping hour against someone's body, wrapped in animal hide, supported on a hip, carried on a back, or resting on a chest beside a campfire. Constant contact is the normal state of childhood. Modern science has discovered that skin-to-skin contact stabilizes body temperature, lowers stress hormones, regulates breathing, and strengthens emotional bonds. Your ancestors did not know the biology. They simply knew it worked. You are never raising your child alone. Modern culture often imagines prehistoric families as isolated couples struggling in the wilderness. Archaeology and anthropology paint a very different picture. Your world is a community. Perhaps 25 or 35 people. Grandparents, teenagers, experienced hunters, gatherers, Children only a few years older than your own. Herdy describes humans as cooperative breeders. In plain English, our species evolved expecting babies to receive care from many different people. One adult gathers food, another repairs clothing, someone else entertains restless children. A grandmother recognizes the first signs of illness. An older sibling carries the baby while the parents process meat beside the fire. The child belongs to everyone. That simple idea may have been one of humanity's greatest evolutionary advantages. Food is never guaranteed. Some mornings hunters return with nothing. Other evenings, they bring enough meat for every person in camp. Richard Lee's famous work Among the Roo. Huntsy hunter-gatherers showed that gathered plant foods often supplied the majority of everyday calories, rather than dramatic hunting victories. Your baby experiences none of these calculations. Whenever hunger appears, breastfeeding begins. No schedules, no charts. Milk is food, water, medicine, comfort, protection. It also quietly spaces pregnancies, because frequent nursing naturally delays fertility in many women, giving one child more years of parental attention before another arrives. Nature built family planning directly into survival. Danger never disappears. Hienas, hienas, leopards, snakes, cold rain, infected wounds. Unsafe water. But perhaps the greatest enemy is invisibility. Many prehistoric dangers leave almost no trace in the archaeological record. A fever, dehydration, a small infection, a difficult winter. Parents become experts at noticing tiny changes long before scientific medicine exists. Knowledge spreads through stories rather than textbooks. Which berries help? Which leaves soothe burns? Which roots reduce pain? Which streams remain safe after heavy rain? Thousands of observations accumulate across generations until they become culture itself. Children do not attend school. The landscape is the classroom. A stick becomes a spear. A stone becomes a hammer. A game becomes tomorrow's survival skill. Nobody announces today's lesson. Learning simply happens because children spend every hour watching adults solve real problems. Anthropologist Melvin Connor observed similar patterns among hunter-gatherers. Play is never separate from education. It is education. Evenings transform the camp. The fire glows brighter. Voices soften. Stories begin long before writing existed.